This afternoon, Governor Kemp signed an executive order banning mask mandates at public schools in our state. But an 11 Alive legal analyst tells Joe Hankey it is questionable whether the governor has the authority to make such an order.
With Governor Brian Kemp's signature, the executive order he signed today took effect immediately, but it's unclear how many school districts it will actually impact, as some have already ended their mask mandates, while others have only been encouraging masks to be worn. Even before Governor Brian Kemp signed the executive order, Gwinnett County, Clayton County, and some other school districts confirmed with 11 Alive they plan to follow at the time the expected order. One district that did not commit one way or the other, though, is Atlanta Public Schools, which as of earlier today still had a mask mandate in place for its campuses.
As long as he is doing it for a reason to protect public health, then he's got a lot of authority.
Because this executive order appears directed at returning to a more normal lifestyle and not a means of protecting the health of Georgians during the pandemic, Atlanta attorney and legal analyst Paige Pate says it raises questions of whether the order would stand up to legal challenges.
This is not coming from the state school board. This is coming from the governor's office. So it's not a question of, is this a state education matter where the state board supersedes the local board? This is the governor stepping in and saying, hey, I don't like masks in school anymore, so nobody can require it. I'm not certain that his authority is that broad.
And Pate says this could end up playing out similar to last summer when Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and Governor Brian Kemp found themselves in the middle of a mask mandate. Kemp filed a lawsuit attempting to overturn the city's mask mandate, but he later dropped that lawsuit.